Good evening. My name is Gregory Smith. I am a doctoral student with Capital Technology University, just starting my third year in the program. This demonstration this evening is intended to quickly show or briefly show how computer-aided qualitative data analysis software applications can be leveraged to simplify the process of doing analysis of a body of literature. This demonstration is presented using Cresswell and Poe's data analysis spiral as a construct for the steps in the process, and it uses the agency problem discussion assignment for Phil 900 as a case study. However, it should be noted that other authors besides Cresswell and Poe describe an analysis cycle that's very similar in steps, and the process would be the same for any other assignment. Likewise, the demonstration is given in the application Atlas TI, although this is not an endorsement for any specific software application. It just happens to be the one that I have. The fundamentals and processes should be very similar for any major software computer-assisted qualitative data analysis software application. And it is important to note that as a family of capabilities, the name computer-assisted qualitative data analysis is highly appropriate, because none of these applications are going to actually do the analysis for you. They just make it much simpler and much more efficient. Also, I should state that some of the steps in the process, in the interest of time, have been performed in advance. As has been previously noted, qualitative analysis is a very iterative process that can take a considerable amount of time. And so while I will show all of the steps in the spiral in this demonstration, in the interest of time, the iterative steps that have to be done over and over again have been pre-recorded. And so with that, we'll go ahead and get started. The first step in the spiral, as identified by Cresswell and Poe, is managing and organizing your data. And so that's very simple in all of these applications. All we have to do is say, hey, we want to add a new document, and then it is as easy as to navigating within your file system to wherever you have your documents stored at, and say, we want to add those in. As they're coming in, I also should mention that the term document is loosely defined within all of these applications. They can be PDFs, they can be Word documents, but they can also be pictures, they can be videos, they can be audio recordings, and you can process any of those file types within these systems. And so now we've brought in these processes, we've brought in these documents, we have them assigned to a project, so we know that a particular problem we're going to work on, we now have these documents brought in along with them. If I double click on any one of the documents, it's going to open it up in a reading pane. Because then the next step, in the spirals cycle is reading and memoing. And so I apologize if this display is a little bit small on your screen, but it's a quite readable version when you have it in person. You should be able to read these documents relatively easy, and then it gives you a variety of different ways to create memos or comments on things as you read them. And so what we can do is, I can come in and I can highlight a portion of text, and I can say, hey, this is a quotation that is of interest to me. And so using the hotkey or by coming up here and creating a quotation, either of those will take that portion of text and will create a quotation to it. I have a comment field down here that will allow me to enter my thoughts as to thoughts on why I thought this was important at the time. And that's an important thing to be capturing as you're going through and processing your text, because in very short assignments, in the program, it's very easy to remember things in short period of time. But as you're going through and you're doing your literature review, you're going to be, working over that over a period of several months, and you're going to read, well over 100 documents, and you will keep and retain and use several dozen of them. And so, if a period of several months have gone by, it can be really hard to remember why you thought something was important in time. And more importantly, it may be hard to say, or you may find yourself in a situation where, I remember reading something about this and I thought it was important and I thought it was related to this, but going back and finding that again is a challenge. And so memos, I think, then become a better way of dealing with that than comments. And that's true in this particular application, because memos are searchable and comments are not. And so maybe as I was reading that portion of text, in my mind, I thought, was this the cause of the problems that we were having with that project X that we did at work? And I'll name my memo Project X. This is a Project X memo. And now I've created that memo in here. But what's more important is I can take this quote and I can say, hey, now that I've created my memo on Project X, I just take that memo and I drag and drop it into that quotation. And now these two things are linked to each other. And so maybe now several months have gone by, and I remember there was something I read about Project X, but I don't remember where it was. And so I can come here into my search window and I just type in Project X, and it will find for me, there's only one thing in my database related to that. It's this memo that I've created. And it has a linked quotation attached to it here. And so now if I double click on this linked quotation, it's going to take me right back to the original document that quotation was from and the point in the document where it was at. And so this is a very, very helpful tool to be able to find things that you saw, at some point in the past. You can remember them, but you maybe don't remember exactly where they're at. This is an incredibly helpful tool to be able to manage and organize your data if you're doing memoing on a regular basis as you're doing things. Once you've read and you've captured your memo thoughts, you're going to want to go through and you're going to need to create some codes. And so, maybe, we'll come down here and we'll say, I want to code this particular text. Again, it's as easy as, highlighting a portion of text. And then I can either use the hotkeys or I can use the pull down functions. To me, hotkeys just seem to be faster. I don't have any codes identified in this particular project yet, right? So I'm going to have to create a code name, and I'll call this code theory. Right. And now that I've done that, right, it has created that code, and it has also applied that code to this particular portion of text, right? And so, I may come through here and I can say, okay, within my theory, right, I've got, the principle, and I'm going to apply a code to the principle, and I'm going to call this code actor, right, because he's an actor within my theory. I also have here now, an agent, right? And the agent is the person to whom authority is delegated. And so I can say, all right, I want to apply a code to him, but because I've created an actor code already, I don't necessarily have to type that in again. I can just double click on that and apply the existing code to a new person. And so it becomes pretty it's relatively easy to quickly come through here, right, and start applying codes as you're building them, to your portions of text. But you'll also run into some issues that as you're building out these codes, eventually you're going to get to a process where you need to do what's called theming. And so within theming, you're going to do a couple of different things, right? But it's usually about collapsing a large number of codes into a smaller number of codes, where related items, come together and start, instead of being, very specific things within the text, are more general terminology. And so you may you're going to start to group codes together and also define relationships among codes. And so we can do some things here. So, for example, within the codes that I have, I can open up and I can see, I can say that my actor is a part of theory. And so I can grab the actor and I can just drag it into theory. And it's going to allow me the opportunity to define a relationship. And it's got a variety of different predefined relationships in here, or I can create my own. And I just select those together. And I've now built a relationship between these two different types of codes. And this becomes a very useful thing, and a thing that you'll have to do as you move into the portion of developing or your interpretations. So as you're doing that, these codes and these themes are going to come together, but they can do that in a variety of different ways. And so you may, layer your codes and themes in sort of a taxonomy, or you can build relationships among them and do that in terms of a network. It really kind of depends on the problem that you're working on. But these software applications make it fairly easy to do any of those kinds of things. But it takes practice learning how to do them. And so, I'm going to switch over to a different window here now into a different project, where I have done some of this work in advance. We can see, right, I've developed, I have a number of documents that have come in, and I've got, a variety of codes that have been applied to different portions of those documents. And I want to start looking at this, and I've decided I want to see this in sort of a network way. And so I can come to my code here, and I know that my agency relationship is sort of my central idea. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new network, and I'm going to just drag and drop that agency relationship into the middle of that network. And then if I right click on that node and say I want to add neighbors and add the neighbors of other codes, right, it starts showing me, right, what are the other codes that are applied that have relationships to that. And if I right click on those and add the neighbors to the codes associated with that, right, we start seeing, all of these things begin to build out into a network diagram relatively quickly. Now I'll skip over here because I have, previously built out a network of this problem. Where I've taken some time to look through this problem and figure out what's the spatial relationship that I want to have into that. But you have a variety of other options that come into here as well, right? These networks don't just have to be codes. And so, for example, I could talk about here this particular subcode that speaks to challenges associated with the controls. And I could say, add for me, right, what are the documents that were associated that had that a code applied to them. And I'm going to see that, right, there's really only one document that has that in there, but it also then shows me, okay, that document had other codes applied to it in different portions of it as well. And so this is a very useful tool for exploring the data and working through this, although it does take a little bit of time, getting into that. I can alternatively, instead of saying, that I don't want to look at the documents that were associated with it. I might say, show me the specific quotations that were associated with a node, and I can get some very, a different level of detail that comes into that. And so to me, this is a very, very useful tool to allow you to develop your interpretation, to develop alternate interpretations, and really set yourself up for creating these things. Now, visualizations, right? Is the final step, right? This is one, right? This might be the visualization that you choose to use, but there's a variety of other visualizations that you might want to create as well. And so you could take, you might organize and say, okay, so I've got, within my documents, I have specific documents that I'm going to bring into a document group because I know they speak to certain things. And then, you might want to do something along the way of saying, okay, so within this document or this document group, right, let me create a visualization of what kind of things that they're talking about. And I want to do that in a quick and easy way. And so I'm going to choose a word cloud for this. And so I just create, pull a document into this. And very quickly, right, you can see I've got a word cloud of sort of what are the things, the important things that are showing up within this text that is the Hill, Schilling, and Jones text. But this could also be, a word cloud against a group of documents. This could be a word cloud against a group of quotations, and catch these concepts and these ideas together in a very visual way. Additionally, right, the options that you have for visualizations, you might want to do a matrix, right? And your code table is one of your possible matrices. And a very useful thing to be able to do with this is to export your code book into a spreadsheet, right? Which then becomes a matrix that you can do a variety of things with. What I'm going to do here, though, is I want to show you how you can take this code book that comes out as an Excel spreadsheet and very quickly translate this into an outline for a document and start writing. So I've exported my code book into Excel spreadsheet. I'm going to have to stop the share here for just a moment while I transition to a different window. Although this application puts things into an Excel spreadsheet, in this particular instance, what I want to do is I'm going to take that Excel spreadsheet and I'm going to open it up instead in Word. And so just a moment here, I can find. While I get this brought up, sorry, this takes just a second while I navigate to things and do the open with Microsoft Word. Okay, and so the Word document comes up here now. When you open, a spreadsheet with Word, it will always come up as a table. But I don't want a table, right? I want text. That's a really easy thing to deal with. We just come here to the layout tool. And this little guy here, which is not really well explained, is a convert to text button. And all you have to do is hit that button, and it's going to take this table and it will turn, right, remove the formatting for a table and turn it into text. And then, right, I've got all of these extra tabs that are in here. And so I want to get rid of all of that. And so I'm going to do a find and replace and just find all of the tabs and replace them with nothing. And so now they're all gone. I don't need this header line that's in there. And so these are my codes in a tree structure. Atlas TI, when it exports the code book, always exports them in an alphabetical order, although that's maybe not the order that I want to talk about things, but that's easy enough to deal with, right? You just, drag and drop what you want to have. But now the next thing to do is, I want this outline in APA format, right? So I can get to doing it. And so what I've done is I've defined a template in Word that has APA format, has the style buttons defined in APA format. And so what I'm going to do is I'll come to Tools, Templates and Add-ins, and I'm going to attach that template that I've previously created, my APA template. I'll attach that to this particular document, making sure to check the box for automatically update document styles. And so now you can see up here my style buttons have APA levels assigned to them. And all I have to do is within this document, let me select all of the lines that are going to be a level 1 heading. And I'll select them and attach a level 1 heading. I have this one line that's going to have a level 3 heading. And then all of the other lines will have level 2 headings. And so I can come through and I can select all of these at one time and apply the level 2 heading via my style button. And just like that, we've created an outline in Microsoft Word that has APA style headings associated with the important codes that I've defined in Atlas TI. And so now from this, I'm ready to start writing because I've got my concepts outline in an outline format. I can go back and forth into Atlas TI and find very quickly the specific quotations that I found in the literature tied to each one of those things. I can find very quickly my memos for what were my thoughts going on into doing that. And this becomes a very efficient way to transition from the data to the codes to the theories and the concepts and into a Word document that you can actually produce and turn in your assignment on. And so this brief demonstration has not touched on anywhere near all of the things that are in here. There's obviously a lot more into this. This is really just intended as an introduction, but I wanted to give it at this point because these are learned skills. It will take some time and some practice. And so there's an opportunity space now for people that are early in the program. If you start doing these things now and getting used to these things now, when you get to the bigger issues of doing your chapter 2 literature review, doing your analysis, if you're doing a qualitative or mixed method study, to have the kinks worked out before you get to the end. And so I thank you for taking the time to watch this, and I hope that this has been helpful.